Hello. In this presentation, I would like to show you the lifecycle processes in enterprise maps. You need to have the proper permission in order to be able to see them. You will find it in administration section, governance, lifecycle processes. If you have the demo data, you can see a bunch of lifecycle processes which are already here. Every lifecycle process, the concept of lifecycle processes is that every lifecycle process has a couple of statuses. So when you first create it, it is in draft, which means, okay, I'm still working on it, still designing it. Once you finish the creation of the lifecycle process, you will switch it to publish. So you will select the lifecycle process and click on publish. Then it will be in published use, which means somebody can use them and usually is used. Uh, this is because we would like to give you some time. Usually the design of the lifecycle process is more complicated process which involves several people. So before somebody can use it, we allow you to uh, properly design it. Once it's used, the lifecycle process can't be changed and needs to be deprecated first. All the users which are using it needs to switch to some new process and then you can delete it. Let's take a look at business service lifecycle, how it looks in detail. So here you can see several tabs on the left and you can see that every lifecycle process has some stages. Um, the stages are represented by the boxes, and there are also the transitions from one stage to another, which are represented by those arrows. These arrows, the type of the arrow specifies how the transition will happen, whether it will be automatic or manual. You can also see on what type of artifacts this lifecycle process can be applied. There are sub-artifact types, whether it will be applied to related artifacts, and whether it is automatically assigned. If you move to stages, you can see the detail of each stage. So every stage can have some tasks. So in our case, there is role business analyst, which has to provide the business requirements. There is some policy which is validating it automatically. So you can very easily, or the system can very easily check whether the tasks are really finished. There are policies which appears in further stages, which defines the state of the artifact, what needs to be the state of the artifact in order to be able to move to this stage. There is a list of approvers which simply allows the artifact to reach the stage. So if we look to it's in candidate, you can see that architects, one architect has to approve it, or after 5 days it will be passively approved, and one project manager has to approve it in order to reach this candidate stage. And there is no passive approval, so until somebody approved it manually, it won't reach the candidate stage. There are also another automatic actions which you can specify, like sending emails to anybody who is interested in about the information that the artifact reached this stage. Another tab are permissions. So in permissions, it's quite complicated because basically you are defining permissions for every stage. So first you define the approvers, then who has the read access, who can even edit the artifact, and what is interesting, you can even change the ownership. So for example, in this process, you can see that once it reaches the production stage, the ownership will move to service providers. which is a role or group. You can also share the artifact, which means that it will become available in other domains. So here we can see, okay, if it's in production, after approval, it is once it reaches the production stage, it will be available and shared across the domains. There is also a bunch of actions at the top here, so let me move back to overview. So you can edit the lifecycle process, but this is allowed only in case the process is not published. Because once it's published, somebody is using it, so it's not possible to change the stages, for example. You can deprecate it, you can clone it, you can export it, so this is very useful. You can export the lifecycle process and import it to another enterprise maps instance. And you can see the usages. So let's take a look at the usages. So if I click on usages, I can see all the artifacts where this process is used. So on this collection page, at every artifact collection page, you can enable the columns related to lifecycle process. So on every column there is this drop down, and you can specify which columns you would like to see. So there is a couple of lifecycle related columns. So you can see the process, you can see the stage, you can see the status. If I go to some artifact detail, there is also on every artifact there is the lifecycle tab. First of all, you can of course see the lifecycle related information at the overview, but if you click on the lifecycle, you can see more detail. So you can see the full life cycle, so all the stages, and you can see what needs to happen in order to reach this stage. So we can see that currently we are trying to reach the candidate state. It wasn't approved yet, so it's in progress. If you have, based on the permissions, you can either, as administrator, you can set the stage manually. You can end the governance. You can approve it here. So everything depends on the permissions. What actions you will see here on the right. So this is what you can see about the life cycle at the artifact detail. Now let's move back to life cycles and talk about how you can create a new life cycle process. So either you can create it from scratch, but if you have the demo data, I would recommend you to clone some existing process. So the clone is available only on detail, as you can see. So let me clone the business service lifecycle, for example. So now, because it's a new lifecycle process, I can see that it's in draft. I'm allowed to edit it. So if I click on edit, this dialog is similar or is the same if you edit the existing or if you create the new one. It doesn't matter. It's the same. It's the same dialog. So we have to specify the name, and another required information is to what artifact types this lifecycle process will be applied. And that's basically all. Then you can move to specifying the stages. But it's there are another things like description. Description is clear. Goal lifecycle stage. So goal lifecycle stage is related to plateaus. So plateaus collect several artifacts, and basically at the plateau, this this is the stage which you would like to reach in your to-be architecture. So on the plateau, you will see the list of included artifacts and whether they already reached the goal lifecycle stage or not. So let me take a look at plateaus in catalog to show you what I mean. Plateaus. Let's take this one. And here you can see that there are a couple of business functions and the target stage is defined here, and sometimes when it's different then it's invalid. When it's the same, it's completed. You can see the status in this graph on the right. So that's the goal lifecycle stage. Let me get back to our process. So copy of business service lifecycle. Another thing are sub-artifact types. So once the process is assigned to, in this case, for example, business service, it can be assigned in also to the sub-artifacts which are related to this business service. The documentation here is probably the usual case because documentation is separated artifact, but it's somehow linked with the artifact with the business service, so it's good if it has the same lifecycle stage. Just one caution here that you need to be careful with specifying the sub-artifacts because basically every artifact can be assigned only to one lifecycle process, so that if it's shared artifact, it's very easy to create a collision, and this option won't work. Then you can check whether we should traverse the Archimate relationships. There is the tooltip, so it just say how the lifecycle process will behave when looking for the sub-artifacts. The same as the second one, which is asking about the composed of relationship. Here you can specify whether the process will be assigned automatically. So it means once you edit or create new business service, the process will be assigned automatically to the artifact. So the governance will start automatically. Just be sure that the process is published if you want to assign it automatically. Until it's published, nothing is assigned automatically. You can specify the categorization. You can specify that it will apply only to artifacts which are somehow categorized, or on the other hand, from the other side, that which are not categorized somehow. And you can also select the domains in which this lifecycle process will be used. So once you have this definition, you can move to stages. So here you can see the details about the stages. The stages are defined on the overview tab. So here you can create all the stages. You can remove them. You can add new. So if I want to, let's say, do that. Okay, the process will be like moving from candidate to development, and from development you can move either to production, or you can cancel the governance, or you can cancel the governance. But I want to say, okay, I would like to, it's not mature enough. I would like to move back to candidate, for example. So I can create add stage. So let me show it again. I will click on development stage. I will click on add stage, and here I can either create new state, or I can select from existing, and I can select even already used stage, which means that I can create the cycles. So I will select the candidate. Now I have to choose how the transition will happen. So this is quite intelligent, because if I select here that it will happen automatically, it will tell me that the existing transitions from development to production will be changed to manually anytime, because it was manually after development is approved or after approval. And if I select that it will move automatically, then there is no way how you can move to production if you need the approval. So the only option is to move it there manually. But I will leave it manually with approval, which makes sense, and it's fine. You can see the reused stages are striped. So if you see that the stage has the stripes, that it means that it already somewhere exists in the lifecycle process. So then if I want to specify the details of each stage, I can move to stages, and here I can select what will happen on every stage. On every stage, you can define the tasks, policies, approvers, and automatic actions. So on the task can be checked either manually, I mean checked as finished either manually, or it could be verified by some policy. So you can select the policy. So let me select, let's say here, administrator shouldn't be artifact owner. Give it some name. Admin is not owner. I can select somebody who will be responsible for it. So let me select, for example, architects. And you can also say to what artifact types this task will be assigned to. So during the definition of the lifecycle process, we have defined the root artifact type and the sub artifacts. So that's the list from which you can choose here. You can, of course, every time you can edit it, you can delete it, and you can define the policy which checks the state of the artifact. So here in candidate stage, it doesn't make much sense, but for the demo purposes, let me choose the all application components developed. And again, I can select to what artifact types it will be applied to, and I can also check whether it's required for approval. So whether this policy needs to be fulfilled in case to move the artifact to this stage. I can define the approvers. So basically people who are responsible for validating this artifact state and allowing it, moving it to this stage. So I can select from roles, users, groups, contacts. So let me choose somebody from finance. And then I can say how many people needs, or how many approvals I need. So basically how many people needs to approve it. Let me choose 3. And whether there is a passive approval option. So by this I will say, okay, after 7 days, if those 3 people will not approve it, it will be approved automatically. And you can also specify some automatic actions. So you can request approval of the parent artifact, which makes sense in the hierarchy of artifacts. You can execute some scripts. You can remove comments, which is useful if you are moving, let's say, from development to production. During development, you have some background or detailed discussions about the design and stuff like that, which is not good to show to the people who will be using it in production. So if you move to production, you can remove all the comments. You can enable the consumption of this artifact, or you can disable the consumption, and you can notify somebody that this stage was reached. And in this way you can specify all the stages, and once you are done, do not forget to publish the process here or on the details, so you can select it, publish it, so it will move from draft to published, and you can start using it. That's all. Thank you for watching. Bye.